Hey, welcome back everyone. Episode 9 of the War Journal. Today I have something special planned. I was digging around through some of my souvenirs and memorabilia, dug out my old dress blues. I got those when I was honor grad out of platoon 3097, 3rd Battalion I Company in Parris Island, North Carolina. I have some other things planned in the next couple episodes, some of the gear and equipment that I kept from my time in Desert Storm that I'll share, and some more pictures. I want to start off by reading the last journal entry, January 14th, 1991. Today we packed up all of our gear after we got off duty. We learned today that we are moving tomorrow, 115 miles west, only 10 miles north. It seems now war is upon us. Too bad the weather doesn't want to cooperate with us. It is still rainy, miserable weather. I received a few pictures of Ashley today. I really do miss her. Oh, the blue pen wore out. So I had the blue pen that Christy sent me, ran out of ink, and I actually got another pen and I started writing in the War Journal, and you can see where all of the blue pen now goes to black. It was pretty interesting to look in the journal and see that. I have to talk about this journal entry in a way. And I had said earlier that we really didn't know what was going on. We had no insights into the war. Last podcast I talked about the SecDef had an announcement, but we didn't receive updates. We didn't know what was going on. The only interaction I had were my letters and occasional phone calls home, but we didn't get any intel updates. The officers really didn't keep us informed. And that was very frustrating for me. And what I learned from that experience and what I know now about myself is that lack of understanding that changed me. It made me always want to ask why or question authority, which really wasn't great in my military career because, in the military, you just want to, conform, and you want to go along to get along. And it really rubbed people the wrong way, especially in my third tour in Afghanistan, where I started questioning, the operations, and I started publishing a series of articles in Small Wars Journal and Foreign Policy magazine that questioned the operations in Afghanistan and their intent and how they were being designed. But I think this thirst for knowledge and always questioning authority or always asking why was one of the most important traits that I developed for myself, but I also tried to instill into my children. In today's society, children are influenced by social media, by their teachers, by friends, and a lot of what we get, we take for truth, and not understanding who's saying it, what their agenda is, or, and what I've always tried to teach my children is to question why. Ask why. Don't be afraid to have a deeper understanding of things. And I believe that's probably one of the best traits and characteristics that I could instill into my children, and the one that I possess myself, because I don't find myself being influenced as much as other people by social media or by the news or by individuals. And I really want to understand, what the truth is, and based upon my worldviews and based upon, what I believe to be true. And if they align with my morals and, my beliefs, then, I can accept that. And if they don't, I find it difficult. But this is the interesting part. January 17th, 1991. The war begins. Last night at 0300 in the morning, the US bombed Iraq. So everyone awoke with this news. We are supposed to leave this afternoon after 2 days of putting it off. We are going north and probably doing a deception plan. I overheard that while I was on duty, and nobody in the company knows what is going on except for Kuntz, who I told soon after I overheard. One meth is taking Artie right now, and we are safe. I didn't know why we moved 115 miles to the west and only 10 meters north. No one knew. And it was only after reading the War Journal 30 years later that I saw how the air war coincided with our movement. We were moving to a place where we could conduct operations in case there was SAR missions or anything like that. a pilot goes down and we have to rescue him. And no one told us. No one told us within the leadership. No one told us what was going on. I was very fortunate to be on fire watch that night, walking around the command tent, and overheard it. First thing I did is ran back to Coons and told him. And that was one of the other things that fueled my desire to help people, to understand what was going on and inform them. And I have a funny story about some intel that I'll probably tell in one of the next upcoming podcasts that talks about this. But the thing that I really want to talk about in this podcast is how I saw how people changed. Once the air war started, it was like it flipped a switch. People changed, their personalities changed. Some became very focused on the war. Everything was serious. There was a serious undertone that existed within everyone. And for me, I know, looking back and even in my writing, how I changed. I became hardened. I was hard because of my childhood and my upbringing, but this really solidified, and helped me shape my identity to, in the face of adversity, become very hardened, turn off your emotions. And that's kind of how I dealt with things throughout my life. And I realized at that point, even when I read the journal, my relationship with Ashley changed dramatically. I was no longer, reliant upon her emotionally. I didn't have the same kind of connection or need to receive letters or care packages or pictures. It was different. I really, hardened myself against everything. It was my way to protect myself. And I realized that I always had an abrasive kind of exterior, but really this amplified it in ways that impacted me. And looking back throughout my life, I realized how I implemented that or used that technique or strategy in my relationships. And I can honestly say that in my marriage, I was never honest and open, and I was guarded because of the things that happened in my childhood in Desert Storm, which I will talk about later. And it made it difficult. But I can say that my relationship with my children, I never experienced that. It was always very loving and caring, and the relationship I had with them was very nurturing. And I found peace in that I was different with my children than I was with, my wife or friends and family and other individuals. There was never any abrasiveness. I was actually able to express my emotions and share with them how I felt. I think looking back, it was kind of a way to protect myself from being hurt. But I never feared being hurt from my children. And I think that's the relationship that parents have with their children. It's very unique and special. It's very honest and genuine, and it's not complicated by a person's worldviews or their experiences of whatever that have happened to them in their past. And I will share with you pictures or some pictures of the air war. I remember that night we're off the border. We could see the tracer rounds in the air. We could hear the planes going over. We knew that one MEF was taking Artie. So it was pretty I would say neat. I mean, the only word I can come up with right now. It was pretty neat watching all of that happen and being a part of it and seeing it firsthand. And I'll stop with this for this episode, and I'll share the picture. My relationship with my children is probably the most important thing in my life. And it was my first tour in Afghanistan. It was a 1-year tour, and Ryan and Tabitha were just born. They were preemies, and I left for the deployment, and they were only a couple months old. And I remember I came back halfway through the deployment, and I remember one evening I had the twins on my leather chair, and I had them both holding them, and I fell asleep with them. And I cherish that picture, and I remember that like it was yesterday. And it was probably the most difficult deployment for me, having to go back and leave my children behind. It was, the first time in my life as a man that, I was, brought to tears. And it was very telling now, looking back on it, about my relationship with all of my children, and how much I love them and care for them and want to be a part of their lives and prepare them for life. And hopefully the war journal will give them lessons that they can take on and use in their life, just like everyone else can use, whether or not you're a parent or in a relationship. I think that some of the things that happened to me in Desert Storm are applicable, and they can be used to help you in your life. And as we go through the journal a little more, you'll see that there's some events that happened that will really hopefully connect with everybody and provide some insights into how you can deal with your own adversity in your lives. So anyway, hey, I hope you enjoyed this episode. The next couple are pretty cool. I have a really funny story I'm going to tell about some trips back to Camp 15, and we'll give you some really good insights into, how the war started to unfold and some of the challenges that we faced. And anyway, I just would like, if you could please share this podcast. I know that the messages in here will resonate with people, and it will help them. And that is my ultimate goal, and provide a little fun and entertainment at the same time. So just remember to make some comments so I can respond, share it, and like it. And let's let this community grow larger and larger, and we can help people who actually need it. Thanks again for taking some time to listen to me. And until we see each other again, have a great one.